I was serving in America's House of Representatives, the lower body, in 2014, when we put Vaclav Havel's bust in the U.S. Capitol to mark 2.5 decades of the Velvet Revolution. May it always remain there. 30 years ago, President Havel became the first politician from the former Soviet bloc to come to speak at the joint session of Congress. I went to a handful of them during my time. It's always remarkable. Only the most special leaders are given that opportunity. He said that day, quote, "We're living in very extraordinary times. The human face of the world is changing so rapidly that none of the familiar political speedometers are adequate." It was truly, and it was an extraordinary time, an exciting time for this part of the world as the clouds of communism parted and the rays of freedom burst forth. Central and Eastern Europe rejoined their free brothers and sisters in the West. But we see today that, in spite of this great time, we see that many of the geopolitical assumptions that we held back then haven't come to pass. The things we believed just turned out not to be so. And perhaps just now we're recognizing the trends that we should have recognized long ago. Let me be a bit more specific. We see that authoritarianism didn't die in 1989 or in 1991. The storm was still there. It was simply over the horizon. While we wrote the epitaph on those types of regimes, we now know that it was premature. I happen to believe with all my heart that America's friends in the Czech Republic realize this now too. The Czech experience is a harbinger of what other nations on the continent face. Russia continues to seek to undermine your democracy, your security, through disinformation campaigns and through cyber attacks. It's even trying to rewrite your history. We've all seen that. Today, an even greater threat is the threat posed by the Chinese Communist Party and its campaigns of coercion and control. In your country alone, we see influence campaigns against your politicians and your security forces. We see the theft of industrial data that you have created through your innovation and creativity. We see the use of economic levels to stifle freedom itself. It's not tanks and guns. It's very different from that. The CCP initiates retaliation against innocent parties when crossed. It infamously canceled the PFK Philharmonic's trip to Beijing for something as simple as the mayor's efforts to deepen ties with Taiwan. Shanghai canceled its cooperation with Prague after this city signed a sister city agreement with Taipei. Look, you all see this. The CCP leverages economic power to coerce countries. Recall that the Chinese embassy in Prague sent a letter to your former Senate president who had hoped to visit Taiwan. Your free press did amazing work and reported on this strong arming. The letter read as follows, said, quote, "Czech enterprises with economic interests in China will have to pay," end of quote. This is deeply inconsistent with each of our values. The CCP lies. It makes those who tell the truth disappear. The virulent pandemic that came from Wuhan spread so widely and caused so much damage because the CCP covered it up.